Hey, it's Randy, here in the garage. What I've got in the workstand today is an old Western Flyer frame. Originally it was a 3-speed with, I believe, 27-inch narrow tires. I've had this bike built up multiple ways as like a cruiser, single speed, and then as a multi-speed drop bar. What I'd like to try and do is fit some fat tires into that frame, or at least fat in proportion to the small tubing in the frame. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but I thought I'd give it a shot anyway. I kind of like the contrast of the fatter tires with this kind of small diameter tubing on this bike. These are 26 by 2.125 kind of cruiser tires, street tread. Let's see how close they are to fitting in the frame. Well, it goes in and there's clearance, but it's minimal. Well, I just heard it rub there. Probably have to dimple these chain stays. And as for the front, well, that's a no-go there. Might see what I've got as far as forks go, and if I can replace this one with something that'll fit this tire, but look okay with the small diameter tubing of the frame. I'll start with this old Schwinn or Ashtabula fork. I noticed though, it is longer than the original fork, which I'm a little puzzled by because these were, well, I guess the 27-inch tires, since they were so narrow, weren't as tall. I don't know. Anyway, I'm afraid though this fork's going to make the top tube slant, and I really want it level. We'll see what happens here. Okay, I've made this kind of makeshift dimpling device out of a BMX stem. And there's our dimple job. Pretty rough. And I don't think I got them even either. I know it can be done now. Maybe next time I'll put a little more time and effort into it. Well, I was trying to widen these seat stays, make a little more room for the tire. Busted this brake bridge. Now I can weld something back in its place, but I may have deformed the seat stays, so I'm going to check into it a little further and see what I'm working with here. So I've got a clamp on here squeezing the seat stays back together, and where this brace, I can weld it back together, and things seem to be somewhat in line. So we'll see what happens. Before I go any further, I want to see about getting the derailleur mounted on there. Now typically this part would go in the drop out there just to kind of hold it in place. But I don't have the luxury of sliding the axle forward to make room for this. just because of the clearance in the stays. So we're going to take this out and just mount it there without it. So I'm trying to decide what crankset to put in here. Whether I just do a one piece, which is what it's made for, or put a European bottom bracket adapter in there and run a 3-piece crank. Or I've got one of those just press fit, like BMX style bottom brackets, I guess. Now if I go with a 1-piece crank or that BMX crank, it'll be a single speed sprocket, so I would have to change out that 7-speed cassette to a 5-speed, I think, so the chain would work. I just don't know how much trouble I want to go through for this. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking over. I'll let you know once I make a decision. Let's see if I can remember how this goes together. And a washer, does that go there? Okay, I'm trying to piece together a chain to fit. As for brakes, I don't know if I want to do black or chrome. So I decided to go with black, and I'm just trying to get a pair going with all the parts and pieces. Yeah, as for handlebars, I don't have a clue what I want to go with. or even drop bars. I think I'm gonna go with these handlebars. They're aluminum, so they're light. They had 2 coats of paint, black and white on them, which I just roughly stripped off. Now for some brake levers. And those are for V-brake. I don't know how that would work with these caliper brakes. Let's see what else we got. Oh. So do any of these match? Yes. Okay, I think we'll just go with these. And the shifter. We just need to find something that'll pull 5 speeds. Yeah, we'll just try one of those. And for grips, okay, I'm gonna get everything all cabled up and then I'll check in after that. All right, everything's all cabled up. Now for pedals, and I'm just gonna use these black aluminum pedals. For saddle, I'm just going to go with this Brooks B17. I touched up where I welded here with some gold paint. And then decided I want to paint the stem blue to somewhat match the fork. Well, I think that's everything, so now to see if it rides. let's recap here real quick what we did. We started with a Western Flyer frame from the late 60s, early 70s, I believe. It would have been a 3-speed with 27-inch wheels, a narrow tire. I wanted to put on fatter tires, so I went with this 26-inch aluminum wheel set, and the tires are 2.125 street tread. To get them to fit, I had to spread the rear triangle, and in the process broke this brake bridge and had to weld that back on. Had to dimple the chainstay to get the front to fit. It wouldn't fit in the original fork, so I replaced that with this Ashtabula fork off a Schwinn middleweight. For the drivetrain, it's a 5-speed freewheel, some cheap derailleur, BMX press fit crankset, profile chainring, got aluminum pedals, got caliper brakes front and rear, operated by these like BMX 2-finger levers, friction shifter. These grips I've just had. I don't recall where I got those. It's aluminum mountain bike style handlebars I just stripped the paint off of. Steel stem that I repainted and tried to give it some patina to match the fork. Let's see, hose clamped on a water bottle cage. Got a Brooks B17 saddle. I think that covers everything. As always, thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next video.